Welcome to People. I'm Shirley Lin. Today I have a very special person in the studio with me. He is Aaron Berg, a cancer survivor and a triathlete. Well, I want to say a triathlete winner, champion, because he's won so many times. Anyway, let's welcome him. Hi, Aaron.
Thank you, Shirley. Nice to be on the show.
All right. Well, first of all, Aaron is from America. Where exactly?
My family's from Houston, Texas.
Ah, Texas. Okay. And but he's been here since 1997. Am I right?
That's correct.
That's right. And has been living here ever since then in Taiwan with his family of 4 children. Okay. So you love kids. Well,
I do.
I want to say actually it probably started with your parents because you're from a family of 6 siblings, including yourself.
Yes, we do come from a pretty big family, and we've had even as a little kid, you know, I had 4 older brothers, and I was the 5th boy, and after that, my younger sister. So we've had a lot of fun as a family.
Yes, I know, because I understand that your parents were very into charitable work and everything, bringing the whole family around and putting on these charity shows, like dressing you up as clowns, and either you sing or dance on stage and things like that. I don't think that's common here in Taiwan, to have a whole family travel around, actually from country to country for that matter, and just doing all this charitable work to encourage people, whether it's the sick or the poor or whatever. That kind of mentality that your parents have, I mean, that's amazing. It's all passed on down to you and your family.
Well, Shirley, my parents were actually Christian missionaries, and growing up we had a very strong value system, family values, and Christian values that about helping other people. So that was very much impressed upon me as a young child. And as I grew older, I also wanted to do things for others as much as I could.
Yeah, I've seen pictures because Aaron just came out with a book, and we'll talk about that later. But I've seen how you were all dressed up, you know, the boys and the girls on stage and doing your act and everything, and you, dressed as a clown. Now, what brought you here to Taiwan, and how you've ended up staying all this time? And I know you've fallen in love with Taiwan, just like a lot of foreigners too.
Yes. Well, actually, I've been living even longer in Asia in general. I've lived in Hong Kong, Macau, Japan, and traveled around extensively. And I think I came from Japan to Taiwan. At the time, my brother was staying here, and he told me, "Oh, you should really come and check Taiwan out." He said it's a very different place, very unique. And I said, "No, I'm pretty good here in Japan right now."
I know, you actually was very comfortable in Japan already.
But I said, "Okay, I'll try it out." And right at that time, there was an opportunity for me to come to Taiwan.
Oh yeah, doing what? Can you?
Well, because I was also doing a lot of volunteer work, even at that time, youth counseling, working with charity organizations to organize shows for underprivileged children, for example, handicapped children or children in refugee centers. Not long after we were living in Taiwan, there was also the 9/21 earthquake, which displaced a lot of people, and we were also refugees amongst them. So God seemed to have had me just in the right place at the right time to help those in need. And from my childhood, learning how to perform and learning how to, put on a show and make people happy. That was the way that I preferred to spread cheer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I think you got so engrossed in your work and everything that you were not realizing that you were hurting your health. So can you talk a bit about what actually happened?
Well, I also was doing some business in Taiwan with consulting and different, how should I say, Oh, well, I was working with some companies with product development and like marketing and sales and stuff internationally. And that, along with my other work and my children and everything, you know, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. At one point, I remember being very, very just weighed down by all that I was responsible for. And I guess I really didn't know that much about health, really, to be able to have you know, a good knowledge base about what I should be doing to take care of myself. I guess I was a lot like your average Joe, just you know, trying to support his family, trying to do good works at the same time, trying to do whatever I could, but I just didn't really take care of myself very well. I was also doing some minimal exercise, but I was more into bodybuilding, and that I found out later wasn't actually that good for me. So without the aerobic type of exercise, I was actually damaging my body quite a bit.
So then you actually went to the doctors and discovered that you've got one of the most vicious kinds of cancer. Can you, I can't say that terminology. I'm going to leave it up to you. What kind of melanoma or whatever, but the word before that, well, I don't know.
What I was diagnosed with is metastatic melanoma.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. and what is that, briefly?
It's melanoma, which is a form of skin cancer, which is the most aggressive kind of cancer cell that there is, or that's what they say anyway. And a lot of young males, white Caucasian males, do get skin cancer. When they discovered it, originally I had a small mole on the back of my the back of my neck, and it became irritable. It would itch, and I'd scratch it. It would bleed. It grew very quickly, and you know, it was a nuisance. So I had the mole removed, and at the time I didn't know anything about melanoma or even the risks involved, and but the mole was taken for a pathology report and tested, and they said, "Oh, it's okay. It's non-malignant." And I thought that was the end of it.
Oh, really? They first said it was non-malignant?
Yes. And then by and by, 1.5 years later, I got a lump in my neck. It started growing from a very small little lump here, and it started growing a little bit bigger until it was about 3 centimeters big. And sticking out a little bit. It became awkward to shave around and stuff. And so, of course, you know, I went to get it checked. And they performed I was admitted into a hospital, performed a biopsy, and then when the report came back, I was very shocked and surprised that they had found metastatic melanoma. Now, the word metastatic in front of that melanoma is that it's not the original cancer site. The cancer cells that they found were already spread. So the cancer was already spreading, and traditionally, once it has spread to several other sites, either through the lymph system or something like that, then it's considered stage 3. And unfortunately, that's the stage where I was diagnosed, was stage 3 metastatic melanoma. And the chances for survival, I was later to find out, although the doctors did not have a lot of information for me at that point, because there are not many melanoma specialists in Taiwan.
Oh,
it's not a very common type of cancer here in Taiwan.
Right.
But I was to find out that the survival rate for those with my type of cancer and the stage that it was in is less than 14%. 14% survive the first year.
Oh, wow.
So I was looking at, you know, when I found that out, I was like, it was like a death sentence.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a year left, if that.
Right.
Being a father, of 4 kids.
4 kids.
My youngest child was still a baby.
Right, just
She
like
was-
6 months
She
old
was
or
just 6 months
something.
old, and I can remember one of the times when I was in hospital for one of my surgeries. My little daughter also had a skin allergy that turned into an infection, and she was also admitted into a hospital. She was so my wife was taking care of her in another hospital while I was in another hospital
Right.
nearby. It just seemed so much for one family to go through. It was a very, very difficult time.
Right.
I can definitely say that.
Now, besides your faith, what kept you through all this? Because, I mean, discovering what you got was devastating, but then to go through something like 3 or 4 or even more surgeries, and then you were totally weakened with all this, and then, like you were saying, your wife had to take care of a child in another hospital, and you're kind of like out of support, because your closest partner is not even right by you.
Yes.
What kept you through besides your faith? I mean, really, I mean, having discovered it at stage 3, that literally meant, like you said, a death sentence.
Yes, when you talk about the difficulties of having cancer, there's so much more involved than just being sick. There's a whole mixture of difficulties that are all rolled up into the experience. For example, financial pressure, the weight of which is enough to crush any man. Especially a young father with a family, and then there's a family issues, the uncertainty. I think was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Then the physical difficulties along with it. I think one of the things that definitely helped me was wanting to survive for my kids' sake.
Okay.
And wanting to be there for them as much as possible. But even that wasn't really enough to pull me out of the depression that I later began to experience, which was also a result of the treatments that I was taking.
Right, right.
In the end, the thing that really pulled me out of it, when I was at the lowest stage of my life with very little hopes of surviving, my body had been reduced to an invalid. I could no longer even climb the flights of stairs in my house.
Yeah.
I was seldom ever able to go out, and just almost ready to die. I was really almost ready to just give up. And at that point, I did ask God for a miracle. I said, I need some way out. And I had the strangest idea. I had a picture of a triathlon, of triathletes competing in a triathlon. And this is something that should have been the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah.
I'd seen them on TV maybe a long time ago, and I really didn't know the first thing about triathlons or anything. But all of a sudden, I had this desire that I should do that. And at first I thought I was crazy. I thought God was crazy for giving me this idea. I said, God, are you crazy? I can't even walk up the stairs in my house, and you're saying I can do a triathlon? And when I prayed further about it, I said, God, is this really you talking to me? Are you trying to tell me something? And then he told me something.
Yeah? I mean,
He
through
said,
somebody, right? In a dream?
No. I heard his voice in my heart. It was like how you remember. When God brings something to your memory, you remember something. It was a verse that I'd heard many, many years ago and was familiar with. It says, if you believe, all things can be possible. And that day I determined that I was going to be a triathlete, and I was going to complete a triathlon. And that hope, that goal, that desire became the strongest thing motivating me to get through and to accomplish what I did.
Wow, that is just amazing. Well, we're going to hear more about Aaron's story, the fact that all this that happened to him, he actually wrote a book about it, and also how he got involved into something that he found that became his focus in life, and that's live right. We're going to find out all about this, but first let's take a break.